I'm gonna celebrate Hanukkah, you're gonna celebrate Hanukkah, we're gonna celebrate Hanukkah, everyone celebrate Hanukkah. This special Hanukkah begins next Sunday. That's right, on December 18. 18 is the word for Chai in Hebrew. Chai, 1-8, 18. That's right. And ends the evening of Monday, December 26th. And I'm looking forward to this celebration, and I hope you are too. But let's understand a bit of the context behind Hanukkah itself and the brief story, because we read in the Gospel of John, yes, that's right, in the New Covenant Scriptures, in chapter 10, verses 22 to 24, it says, at that time, the Feast of Dedication, in other words, Hanukkah, was taking place in Jerusalem. It was winter, and Yeshua was walking in the temple in the colonnade of Solomon. So the Jews gathered around him and said to him, how long will you keep us in suspense? If you are the Messiah, tell us plainly. Now, when we read Psalm 18, verse 28, you, Lord, keep my lamp burning. My God turns my darkness into light. I like the light. How about you? But the Hebrew word Hanukkah literally means dedication. It's a Jewish holiday, historically speaking, and not one of the feasts of the Lord as we understand biblical feasts, 7 of them, that are mentioned in scriptures. But the word Hanukkah comes from the same source of the Hebrew root letters for the word chinuch, which means education. Yes, this is a time to learn. It's a time for education and a time for dedication. So we must educate ourselves and we must dedicate ourselves. And it's celebrating during the winter Hebrew months from Kislev 25 to Tevet 3. Now, the background of the story is that in 333 BCE, Alexander the Great conquered Egypt, Syria, and Babylonia. Now, the guy was not such a bad guy, at least I don't remember him being so bad, but he also promoted Hellenistic culture. Here's where the problems begin. He went out of his way to encourage the way of the Greeks, and in dress and in language and customs. We find this very similar to what's happening in most societies today in the Western world. Alexander was not a harsh ruler over the Jews, but pretty lenient, and some say he even listened to what the Jewish priests had to say and some of its leaders who were counseling him. But in any event, it did cause a clash of civilizations. That is Greek Hellenistic culture, civilization, versus the roots of Judaism and its existence. Over 100 years later, one of Alexander's successors, the Syrian king Antiochus the Fourth Epiphanes, began to persecute the Jews. When Antiochus invaded Jerusalem in 168 BCE, he killed thousands of Jewish people and erected an altar to Zeus in the Holy Temple. Shame, shame, shame. He appointed a high priest of his own choosing to the temple in Jerusalem, and they prohibited the Jews from studying the Torah with its morals and ethical codes, and they desecrated the temple, and pigs were even sacrificed on the altar. Can you imagine that? Bacon on the altar? As you know, it's considered totally unkosher. Well, the Jews, in fact, referred to Antiochus Epiphanes, which meant God or Zeus to them, made manifest, into Epimanes, which meant the madman. This outraged, these actions totally outraged the Hasmonean family of Mattathias, the Jewish high priest, and his youngest son, Judah Maccabee. Now, Maccabee literally means the hammer. And so Judah, the hammer, began a revolt in 165 BCE. After 2 years of warfare, they succeeded in evicting the Syrian Greeks from Israel. The temple had been ransacked and destroyed by then. And the temple, though, in Jerusalem was finally liberated, cleansed, redeemed, sanctified, and rededicated to the worship of Adonai, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yay! That's right. Applaud. Quoting one commentary, quote, Hanukkah represents the victory of faith over the ways of speculative reason and demonstrates the power of the miracles in the face of humanism. Isn't that we're all facing something like that today in this day and age? I do believe so if we observe together. But maybe we are exactly at this prophetic stage and crossroads once again in the Western world and around the globe today. Humanism and their government leaders, I warn you, with their intellectual reasons have become nothing less than intellectual barbarians, and are throwing off all restraint. This is also another reason we are seeing a rise in global anti-Semitism. It's light versus darkness. It's Hellenistic paganism versus the Judeo-Christian heritage. It's all this talk about a new world order and the Great Reset. Just foolish people reasoning or foreshadowing of an evil claiming messianic figure who will try to subjugate and put us all into slavery, all of humanity, into what they call the New World Order, or should I say the New World Disorder. That's right. But also, amazingly, today, recently, there was an archaeological dig that actually found 15 silver coins in a box near where the caves of the Dead Sea Scrolls are in the Judean desert that date back to the Maccabean period. It was either at the start of the revolt, shortly before the revolt, or during the revolt, because it was like a safe with these 15 silver coins, which would be the equivalent to about 2 months' salary or 30,000 Israeli shekels today. And this guy's safe that he buried never got picked up because apparently he either got buried himself in the revolt or he just forgot the address due to old age. I don't know. But the elements of the menorah, Hanukkah, the sufganiot and the dreidel and more actually play a significant role in the cultural understanding and historical importance of this holiday. And so let us talk about the elements, first of all, about the menorah. In this case, for this holiday, this Jewish national holiday, the Hanukkah, it's an 8-branch candelabra with one 9-branch in the middle, which is slightly exalted above the others. And I've made this one red on purpose because actually it reminds us of the blood of Yeshua and what he's done for the sins of mankind. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting light. He is the light of the world. But let's talk a little bit more about that image, because this candle is also known by the Hebrew word the shamash, or in Greek we would say the deacon. It becomes the servant of the other candles. So when we light this candle, we light from right to left, and this highly exalted candle becomes the servant that bows to the others and lights it. And therefore, I think it's a reflective image of Yeshua, the Messiah. In fact, in Exodus 27, verse 20 to 21, we read, "Command the Israelites to bring you clear oil of pressed olives for the light, so that lamps may be kept burning. In the tent of meeting, outside the curtain that shields the ark of the covenant law, Aaron and his sons are to keep the lamps burning before the Lord evening till morning. This is to be a lasting ordinance among the Israelites for generations to come." Now, according to tradition, and I repeat, this is only tradition, with reference to the Talmud in Shabbat 21b, at the time of the rededication on Kislev 25, there was very little oil left in the menorah. And it had already been, the temple was defiled by the Syrian Greeks, but oil was needed for the menorah to burn continually in the temple, as we just read in Scripture. There was only enough oil to burn for 1 day. That's right, 1 day. A great miracle, though, is claimed to have happened, and that the sanctified oil burned for 8 days. This was the time that it took to prepare a new batch of fresh oil. So now you have it, an 8-day festival. Why didn't I think of that? Help me and I'll make a festival. Anyways, celebrate good times. Come on. All right. Now, the story of Hanukkah comes from an extra biblical literature found in the Catholic Bibles in the Apocrypha, known as the books of the Maccabees. But there is no mention of this story of the miraculous oil lasting 8 days, et al. In the Apocrypha. Light the first candle and chant the traditional blessing, so we shall do that together with all of you. So here is the traditional Hebrew prayer that I begin with as I light this first candle, the shamash. There we go. And then we take that candle and we read one of the first of the Hebrew blessings, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Hannukah. Amen. Let's look at another way we can all appreciate Hanukkah, for it is truly a precious, fun and loving time for families and friends. Yay! For the 8 days, we are lighting up this special menorah. And guess what? We give gifts to each of our children or grandchildren for 8 days. And that sometimes beats out the other holiday that's celebrated in the same month, where you get gifts in one day. I'll take the 8. Okay. Well, anyways, many families, if possible, try to show off and place their Chanukiot, as we see, to be seen in many windows or store windows. Sometimes to avoid any dangerous fires, of course, instead of using real candles, they use, electrified or battery-operated candles. However, I remember being in Las Vegas one year when we celebrated Hanukkah with the Orthodox Jewish community, and we all lit real flames of fire on a big outdoor Chanukiah, and it was wonderful. I remember having tears in my eyes and just feeling how nice it was that Jews and Gentiles could join together and celebrate this holiday in, of all places, Las Vegas. Now, children at Israeli schools and elsewhere in the world are also celebrating and making various artistic expressions of this national holiday. National and even global leaders in the West usually invite rabbis from Israel or from their own countries and representatives to celebrate as well. It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but should bring us all a sense of joy. Most Jews, religious in practice or not, celebrate this time together. We eat fried foods traditionally because it reminds us of the oil in the menorah that was used. However, maybe we should try a more Mediterranean diet Hanukkah. How's that? Okay. And we can pour olive oil on all our food and remind ourselves how gracious we are of Hanukkah. But this is a healthier alternative. We'll discuss that in further programs in the future after I've lost at least 10 more pounds. Okay, now Hanukkah is a joyous holiday. In the Talmud, it says to be joyous on Hanukkah and avoid being sad. No mourning or fasting except if a loved one dies. And with that also, I forgot to mention to you, we play a game called the dreidel. Dreidel, and it's a game that also is fun to play with. But what's even better is the dessert to come, which are glorified donuts called sufganiot, and these are the gourmet types. I shall try one. This one has a little bit of popcorn on it that has some chocolate crunch, pecans, a cookie, and this one, dulce de leche, is one of my favorites. And so I wish you all a happy Hanukkah. One for me, and one for you. The rest for the kids and the grandkids. And we're gonna finish with that song, candles were lighting on Hanukkah, blessings reciting on Hanukkah, fried foods were biting on Hanukkah, family uniting on Hanukkah. La 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 la.